All right, Eagles fans, let's dive straight into one of the wildest storylines of the season so far. Out of nowhere, the Houston Texans decided to cut ties with safety CJ Gardner-Johnson after only 3 games in the building. Think about how crazy that is. They trade for him in the offseason. They restructure his contract to give him almost $7 million guaranteed. They put him on the field as a starter, and then, boom, after 3 weeks, he's gone. No wonder social media exploded with shock when the news dropped on September 23rd. A move like this doesn't happen unless there's something much deeper going on behind the scenes. When you go back and watch his tape in Houston, you can start piecing some of it together. He blew a key assignment against Jacksonville that directly set up the game-winning drive. You could see frustration building not only on the sideline, but in the locker room too. Reports started surfacing that he wasn't holding himself accountable, that there was friction between him and the coaching staff, and even whispers that he wasn't happy with his role in the defense. It got so bad that he may have pushed for a trade, and when that didn't materialize, the Texans just cut bait altogether. And remember, this is a guy with a reputation. He's a fiery competitor. He plays with swagger and edge, but that same intensity can rub people the wrong way. This is now the 5th time in 7 years that a team has decided it's just not worth it anymore. Of course, the immediate question popped up in Philadelphia. Could he come back to the Eagles? And honestly, the idea is tempting. Both times he's been here before, the Eagles ended up making Super Bowl runs. He brings versatility you can't just teach. He can line up as a nickel corner, he can drop back as a safety, and when he's locked in, he's a playmaker of the highest level. In 28 regular season games wearing midnight green, he racked up 12 interceptions. That's an insane rate. On top of that, he plays with a chip on his shoulder with the kind of emotion that lights up an entire defense. You ask any fan and they'll tell you, it's fun watching him fly around the field. But here's where things get complicated. The Eagles already made the decision to move off him once, and then again this past offseason when they flipped him for Kenyon Green and some late-round draft considerations. Green isn't even on the roster anymore, which makes that trade look even worse in hindsight. Still, Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni had their reasons. Gardner-Johnson has battled injuries. He hasn't always meshed with the organization, and he's been vocal about his frustrations on social media. That kind of unpredictability doesn't sit well with coaches who are trying to keep the culture tight. In Philadelphia, culture is everything. It's one of the biggest reasons this team has been consistently competitive. Bringing back someone who has already created headaches could throw off that balance, and that risk might outweigh the upside. Now, for those wondering if the league rules would even allow him to return so soon after being traded, the answer is yes. There was some confusion about whether a traded player had to wait until 2 full seasons had passed before rejoining the original team. But top insiders clear that up quickly. That restriction doesn't apply here. Since he only played 3 games in Houston before getting released, he's free to sign wherever he wants, including Philadelphia. So, legally and logistically, a reunion is possible. The only question is whether the Eagles actually want it. Looking at the numbers, his performance in Houston wasn't terrible. Pro Football Focus gave him an overall grade in the low 60s, with a strong run defense grade above 70. His coverage grade was below 60, which isn't ideal, but it shows he wasn't a complete disaster. He still had moments where he flashed the ball-hawking instincts that made him a fan favorite in Philly. And yet, if you're the Eagles coaching staff, you're probably looking at the development of Andrew Mukuba and saying, why mess with what's working? Mukuba has stepped in as a starter and is showing real promise. He brings a lot of the same traits Gardner-Johnson does: versatility, aggressiveness, speed, but without all the baggage. Pairing him with Reed Blankenship is starting to form a solid duo, and Marcus Epps' influence in past seasons helped Reed elevate his game. So, from Sirianni's perspective, the safety room feels stable. When asked about the possibility of bringing Gardner-Johnson back, Sirianni didn't outright say no, but his answer made it clear. He said he was really excited about the group they already have, praised Mukuba's growth, and highlighted the contributions of guys like Sidney Brown on special teams. Reading between the lines, that was basically the head coach telling everyone not to expect a reunion. Add to that Adam Schefter weighing in, saying he doesn't view it as a viable option right now, and the writing feels pretty much on the wall. Could an injury or some unforeseen change alter that? Sure, in the NFL anything can happen. But at this moment, the Eagles seem content to move forward with the players they have. Still, you can't deny how enticing the idea is. Gardner-Johnson is one of those players who brings energy the second he steps on the field. Opposing offenses have to account for him, and he loves to get in their heads. He might not be the biggest guy out there, but he plays like he is. Fans remember those clutch interceptions, the way he hyped up the defense, the attitude he carried into every snap. It's hard not to want that back, especially when you're chasing another Super Bowl appearance. The problem is talent and swagger can only take you so far if the off-field issues keep piling up. The fact that 5 different teams in 7 years have decided to part ways tells you there's a pattern here. At some point, a player becomes who he is, no matter how much potential he shows. That's where the Eagles have to weigh the pros and cons carefully. On one hand, you get a proven playmaker who knows your system and has helped you win at the highest level. On the other, you risk disrupting a locker room that thrives on cohesion and accountability. And this front office has shown time and time again that they value culture just as much as talent. It's why they've been able to sustain success and avoid long rebuilds. If they sense even the smallest chance that Gardner-Johnson could derail that, they'll stay away. For now, that seems to be the case. The story isn't over, though. Gardner-Johnson is too talented to stay unemployed for long. Another team will take the gamble because guys who can cover, hit, and create turnovers don't grow on trees. The question is whether that gamble will finally pay off long-term for someone or if history will keep repeating itself. For Eagles fans, the idea of a reunion will linger, especially if the secondary struggles down the line. But for now, all signs point to Philadelphia sticking with the young core they're developing and letting Gardner-Johnson find his next stop elsewhere. If we keep digging into this whole situation, what really stands out is how quickly the Texans gave up. Normally, when a team restructures a player's contract the way Houston did with Gardner-Johnson, it's a clear signal that they see him as a core piece. You don't hand out nearly $7 million in guaranteed money if you don't think that player is going to be around for at least a full season. That's why this release sent shockwaves through the league. Houston is sitting at 0 wins and 3 losses. The locker room feels like it's in chaos. And now they've cut loose one of the only players with veteran experience and proven playmaking ability. It says a lot about just how fractured things must have been behind the curtain. And you know what? This isn't unfamiliar territory for Gardner-Johnson. His career has been a roller coaster from start. In New Orleans, he established himself as a hard-hitting, trash-talking safety who could change games with one big play. He also developed a reputation for being tough to manage. The Saints eventually moved him to Philadelphia, where he shined right away. Eagles fans remember his 6 interceptions in the 2022 season, the swagger he brought to the secondary, and the way he gave that defense a nasty edge all the way to the Super Bowl. Yet even then, whispers started about his attitude, his health, and whether he was someone the team could count on long-term. Fast forward, and the Eagles decided to let him go once. Then they took another chance, and before long, they moved on again. Now Houston couldn't even make it through September before cutting ties. That's a pattern that no front office in the NFL can ignore. Still, the Eagles connection won't go away. Fans are passionate, and they want to believe that bringing him back would be the missing piece. And it's not like the idea doesn't have merit. On paper, sliding Gardner-Johnson back into the secondary makes the unit deeper and more dangerous. You'd have Reed Blankenship patrolling the back end, Andrew Mukuba continuing to develop into a versatile chess piece, and Gardner-Johnson as the spark plug who can move around depending on a matchup. That kind of flexibility can be a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. He can blitz, he can cover the slot, he can disguise looks, and when he gets his hands on the ball, it usually means trouble for the other team. Very few players bring that level of unpredictability. But when you talk about this Eagles organization, you can't overlook how much they value stability and culture. Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman, Vic Fangio, all of them have emphasized time and time again that they want guys who buy into the program, who put the team first and who don't create unnecessary distractions. That's what makes this such a tough decision. The last thing they want is to derail the growth of Mukuba, who already looks like a potential long-term starter. He's been learning from veterans, getting better every week, and carving out his own role. If you bring Gardner-Johnson back, you run the risk of cutting into those reps and slowing down the development of a young player who represents the future of the defense. And then there's the other side of it, injuries. Gardner-Johnson has missed significant time in multiple seasons. Even when he's on the field, there's always the concern of how long he'll stay healthy. The Eagles know that better than anyone, and it's one of the reasons they were hesitant to give him a big deal before. They've been building depth at safety to prepare for that exact scenario, making sure they aren't overly reliant on one guy. So while the highlight plays and the swagger are tempting, the risk that he gets hurt again and leaves the team scrambling is very real. Let's not forget the media circus that follows him too. This is a player who has no problem voicing his frustrations on social media, calling out teammates, coaches, or even the organization itself. That can blow up quickly in a city like Philadelphia, where every word gets magnified. Sirianni and Roseman don't want to wake up to see their safety trending on Twitter for the wrong reasons. That's not the type of energy they want around a locker room that's built on unity and accountability. It's not just about what happens on Sundays. It's about every day in practice, every meeting, every interaction. If a player constantly challenges that balance, no matter how talented, it becomes a major issue. At the same time, though, you can understand why the idea of a reunion still lingers. Gardner-Johnson has proven that when he's bought in, he can elevate an entire defense. He's a fearless tackler, he thrives in big moments, and his attitude can actually energize his teammates. Some coaches love having that edge, that guy who refuses to back down and brings juice every snap. For the Eagles, who are always chasing that Super Bowl window, adding another playmaker could feel like the final push. The danger is whether the same fire that makes him special on the field ends up burning the team off it. So here's where things stand. The Eagles can bring him back if they want. There are no rules stopping them. They've had success with him before. They know exactly what he can do. But they also know exactly what the risks are. And right now, with Mukuba showing promise, with Blankenship settling in as a steady presence, and with the coaching staff expressing confidence in the current group, the likelihood feels slim. Unless injuries strike or the secondary starts to struggle badly, the Eagles seem set on moving forward without reopening that door. For Gardner-Johnson himself, the clock is ticking. He needs to find another team willing to take a chance, and he has to prove he can stick somewhere for more than a season. Otherwise, that difficult-to-manage label will follow him for the rest of his career. He's still only in his late 20s, still in his prime physically, but the NFL moves fast. Teams will keep giving opportunities to younger players like Mukuba who come cheaper, healthier, and without the baggage. If Gardner-Johnson wants to rewrite the narrative, the next stop has to be different. He has to show he can stay healthy, stay locked in, and stay out of the headlines for the wrong reasons. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In what could easily be described as the shocker of the NFL offseason, whispers are swirling around the league that the Philadelphia Eagles have made a move that could send tremors across the sport. The team has reportedly announced SHEDEUR Sanders. While official confirmations remain scarce, and the front office has been characteristically tight-lipped, sources close to the organization hint that the Eagles are positioning themselves for a dramatic shakeup at quarterback. SHEDEUR Sanders, whose college career has been nothing short of electric, has been on the radar of scouts and analysts for months. Known for his poise in the pocket, pinpoint accuracy, and an uncanny ability to read defenses, Sanders has built a reputation as a playmaker who can carry a team on his shoulders. Rumors suggest that Philadelphia is not only banking on his talent, but also on his charisma and leadership to invigorate a fan base hungry for big news. The chatter around the league is that this isn't just another roster addition. It could be a statement of intent from a franchise looking to redefine itself. Insiders hint that the Eagles see Sanders as a potential cornerstone for years to come, possibly even a franchise quarterback capable of leading the team deep into the playoffs. Conversations among NFL pundits and social media chatter suggest that this announcement is already creating waves in locker rooms across the league. Teams that once considered their quarterback situation stable are now reportedly keeping a closer eye on Philadelphia, wondering if Sanders' arrival signals a new era of aggressive, high-stakes football. Of course, with rumors comes speculation. Critics point to the pressure that accompanies joining a storied franchise like the Eagles, as well as the expectations of a fan base accustomed to Super Bowl contention. Yet for those who thrive on bold moves and headline-grabbing stories, the potential signing of SHEDEUR Sanders reads like a dream scenario. Across forums, podcasts, and Twitter feeds, fans are buzzing with theories. Is he ready to start immediately? Will the Eagles shift their offensive strategy around him? Could this be the beginning of a quarterback revolution in Philadelphia? While the NFL world waits for official confirmation, one thing is certain. The Eagles have reignited conversation, intrigue, and excitement. If these rumors hold any weight, the 2025 season may very well begin with the league watching Philadelphia more closely than ever. And if SHEDEUR Sanders can deliver even a fraction of what his college days promised, the Eagles may have just pulled off one of the boldest gambles in recent memory. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.